This week, it's Crisis on Infinite Podcasts as Billie nerds out with friend of the show from the Worst Comic Podcast, Mr. Cullen Stapleton. We talk all things comics, toys, and the latest pop culture rumors and news. Welcome to the Infinite Taylorverse.
Warning.
Red alert.
Ay, 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 ay!
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger!
That's the emergency alert. This episode is full of spoilers for some of the latest and greatest nerdy movies and shows.
Spoilers.
Listener discretion is advised.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Infinite Taylorverse podcast. I'm Billie Taylor, and this week, you guys, it's Crisis on Infinite Podcasts. I have a special guest in the house tonight. If you love comics and you love, all things Marvel, DC, indie, this man knows his stuff. Welcome to the show from the Worst Comic Podcast ever, Mr. Cullen Stapleton. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm great, Billy. It's great to see you. I know I'm 2 hours behind you there, and
Yeah.
so you're kind of burning the oil there in the evening, but it's wonderful to get caught up with you. We hadn't seen each other since Planet Comic-Con.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm so glad that you invited me.
Yeah, and thinking back, John's been on the show, Jerry's been on the show, but this might be your first time joining
Yeah.
us. Is that true?
I believe it.
Yeah.
It is.
It's weird. After, I think we're in our 6th year, and it kind of is all a blur behind us,
Mm-hmm. No, when you guys got that thing kicked off, we were so excited because you had done some remotes from an arcade.
Yep.
And, just it reminded us so much of, us getting started and doing all the different things and just trying to find where your lane is. And
Yeah.
I really love your content, and you're fantastic together. And so love being here.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, thanks for joining us. And I guess as we normally do, we kick off kind of talking about the things we've been nerding out about this past week. And I'll go first with that. So Kansas City had a tiny little kind of a mini pop-up con this past weekend called Tower Con. It was over at the Boulevard Brewery, and they had some vendors there. And one of the cool things that they also had was a tiny little pop-up area with tattoo artists. And I didn't necessarily go in thinking, I think I'm going to get a tattoo. But when I saw them, and it was a $50 flash sale, and anyone that knows anything about tattoos, those tattoos are not cheap.
No.
So I was intrigued. I walked over, I flipped through the book, and you had to pick from their art. That was kind of predetermined art. And anyway, one of the things my boys and I have been into since Christmas is the anime One Piece. And they had some really cool One Piece art. So I said, you know what the heck? And I picked out well, first, are you into any of these animes or anything like that?
Oh yeah. One Piece. I mean, of course, I got into it, exposed to it because of the Netflix show, right? And I just thought, now I'm a little older, and this will date me, but like it really reminded me some of the chaotic, frenetic action was sort of it pulled in some of that manga energy. And it really reminded me a lot of an old movie from the 70s when they did a live action Popeye. And it's sort of just over the top, but the story is so compelling. And gosh, there's so much One Piece content out there. But I loved it and loved the series, and yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah, we started with the live action stuff. My son had been reading the mangas, which fast forward, where we 5 or 6 months past Christmas,
Yeah.
he's in the hundreds of the books. I think he only has like 3 left, and he's caught up to what's current, which is crazy. Shout out to the Bonner Springs Public Library. Anyway, we started watching the cartoon, which has, I think, if I remember correctly, it's 1,156 episodes. And since Christmas, we're about 300 in. So
Wow. That's quite a chunk.
Yeah. They're only, once you fast forward the recap and the credits they're only about 16-minute episodes, something like that. But
Very true, very
um,
true.
anyway, at this little pop-up con, they had a picture of their Luffy's straw hat Jolly Roger, the skull. You can kind of maybe see it here, the
Oh,
skull
yeah!
with the straw hat. But
Love it.
I got it, and so I'm kind of nerding out about that. And then on the other hand, I got to meet artist Chris Burnham at this event, which was really cool. And
Super cool.
he signed my Absolute Batman number 11, which he did the cover of. And I think I showed you at Planet Comic Con, I have this little book full of just creator
Yeah.
signatures, and he signed that too. And anyway, I'm nerding out about this little kind of con high that I'm floating down from. I feel like there's been some kind of a con every few weeks in the Kansas City area this past year, and it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really is. It's happened a lot up here as well. I think what's happening too, you'll tell me if Kansas City's like this. So I'm up here in the Pacific Northwest, just outside Portland, Oregon, in Hillsboro. And one of the things that I've been seeing is a lot of weekend shows or one-day shows. And what your TowerCon is interesting because it's a first or second year show, but it had a lot of talent, creative talent in attendance there, and a lot of these one-day shows and things they're low cost entry because they're not paying for celebrities and things of that nature. But there's a lot of great like maker spaces and DIY stuff, and then cheap comics or whatever you're into. Lots of different types of vendors and things like that. So I think there's just this real desire. The world's kind of weird right now,
Yeah.
and there's just a desire to continue to try to find low cost community.
Yeah.
And so these little garage cons and things like that really they scratch an itch and give everyone an opportunity. I mean, that's the downside, right, of the popularity of the bigger comic cons and pop culture events is that even for a one-day ticket, they're usually $50 to $75 a day,
Right. Yeah.
right? And so, that's like, unless you take full advantage of panels and things like that, it's really a pretty pricey ticket to pay just to go shopping at a bazaar. And
Right. Right.
the weekend shows are easily, you know, less expensive. But it sounds like, I mean, gosh, to get a tattoo and to see Chris Burnham
Yeah.
from a single show, that's really amazing. It's really funny. Up here in the Pacific Northwest, getting inked does not hold the stigma that Midwest conservatism has assigned to it, right? Like, I definitely was raised with a idea of like, oh my God, you can't get a tattoo. And should you get a tattoo, it can't be anywhere where it can be seen.
You'll
Nothing
never
on
get a
your
job.
arms. You'll never get a job, right? And when I moved up here to Oregon, the first Rose City Comic Con I went to, that was the very first time I walked into a show, and there was an entire like row of tables and tattoo artists, and you could get whatever you want. And there were people getting leg tattoos, work on their sleeve, piercings, the whole nine yards. And to me, as a uh, hayseed Midwesterner, having no problems with tattoos, it was quite a culture shock. And
Yeah.
now I'm seeing it not only become more readily acceptable, regardless if it's on your skin where someone can see it or not across the country,
Yeah.
but to have these artists show up at these pop culture conventions or comic book conventions is really unique. But I think it's great, and it brings in a whole different type of person, clientele looking to do something different. And I think it's great for just the overall community.
Yeah, it is cool. It's funny, my listeners, you guys know I'm a high school teacher, and I think back to high school, I cannot picture a single tattoo on a single teacher. And
No,
I'm thinking in my job, my principal's an older guy who's actually retiring this year, and
Huh.
the last time I got a tattoo, he's like, "Oh, sweet, new ink," you know? And
right.
you're right, I think the culture has shifted in terms of that kind of stuff, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, hey, man, what have you been nerding out about this week?
Yeah, I know. It has been a good week to get caught up on the read pile. I've been doing a lot of business travel. So this week I got caught up with the book from Image Dork through issue 4. There's 4 issues that of that out. We talked a lot about it on our podcast. The weird month ago where Dork and another book called White Sky just seemingly like people were screaming for it. Like
Yeah.
issue 1s had dropped. No shop had ordered enough because who's going to order multiple copies
Yeah.
of a cartoonish, adventure high fantasy series? And then White Sky is very much this father daughter sort of adventure, post apocalyptic world sort of team up, and so I was fascinated. On our podcast, we mostly stick to the superhero tights and fights books. We do bring in, the same type of content and conversations from publishers like Image and Dark Horse and Oni and things and publishers of that size. But it was just fascinating to me, especially in the era right now of the DC Absolute books,
Oh, yeah.
where Batman is selling literally 2 times the number 2 selling book out in the market. And then here comes these quirky little books like Dork and White Sky, and they bust through the top 10. There are within a 20-mile radius of downtown Portland, there are 13 active comic book stores.
Yeah.
And of those stores, I probably know 8 of the owners on a first name basis. I started making phone calls and I'm like, what's driving this? And not a single one of them had an explanation. There wasn't any additional marketing that Image did. It wasn't driven. I was like, could you tell, was there a youth, an age sort of play to it? And they were like, nope, young people, old people, men, women, they all wanted it. One shop owner had one hypothesis, which is he felt like that Dungeon Crawler Carl has sort of brought a new group of readers into sort of the cartoon high fantasy world.
Yeah.
And so and which I was unfamiliar with until Free Comic Book Day. There
Same,
was
yeah.
a yeah, and now I think it was just late last week. I saw for the first time in a very long time midnight openings of bookstores so people could get the next volume of the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. And so I got to read a bunch of comics. I like collecting action figures, and
Nice.
so I busted out a couple new action figures. I had gotten the Sorcerer Supreme Doctor Doom
Ooh,
action
nice.
figure, and then spent a little money and picked up off of eBay the Emperor God Doom, the one where he's all in white from the
Uh-huh.
Secret Wars series. Definitely got bit by the Doctor Doom bug this summer, and
Yep.
looking forward to seeing how all that plays out of the Fantastic Four with the upcoming Avengers movies. But yeah, that's been super fun. Oh, and the other thing that I did was when I was in Kansas City for Planet Comic Con, I had the opportunity to get a print from Scotty Young. My favorite Marvel character is the black suited Peter Parker symbiote from Secret Wars.
Yep, yep.
My favorite jam. And Scotty was selling prints of symbiote Peter, but it's just a print, but it actually looks like an original piece of art.
Yeah,
But anyway, it's this amazing print that I got, and it's autographed by Scotty up at the top. And I'm gonna put that on my wall of spiders
that's
that I
amazing.
have here. But yeah, so some definite comic book nerding. I did get to finish watching Daredevil
Yes.
on Disney Plus, and lot shock,
Yeah,
but I'm still loving it. I haven't quite caught up yet and watched the Punisher one shot,
okay.
but knowing that he's going to be in the next Spider-Man movie, I really did think I had forgotten that he was gonna be in the Spider-Man movie,
Yeah.
and I really felt like the way the Daredevil series had gone and that this was only a one shot, I was like, "Oh, man, are they gonna knock Frank off? Like, is
Right.
this like a special, episode?" Thankfully, that's not how it played out, but anyway, so I'm looking forward to seeing that, but, yeah, it's been a great week, just geeking out, all the way around.
Awesome. It's funny you mentioned the Punisher special, which just came out this past week, and don't want to spoil it for you since you haven't seen it, but I feel like what it serves is we the watcher sees Frank Castle go back into a mental place of being the Punisher. uh,
Okay,
so
okay.
again, I won't spoil what goes down and
No, no,
all,
no.
but I think it leads up to here we are, and here's what I think we'll see in Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I'm so excited. This next 6 months is going to be amazing
Oh, I
for
know.
us nerds, not only just from a Marvel perspective, but we're a week away from Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm stoked. I keep seeing a couple folks on some of my socials be like, I'm not feeling any excitement. I'm not feeling any heat for Grogu and the Mandalorian. And I just think again, the world is kind of weird right now, and it's
Yeah.
just hard to break through the noise.
Yeah.
And I have zero doubt that next weekend theaters are going to be packed
Oh,
with
yes.
people so excited to be able to see this. And I don't know if you've seen it, but I'm sure there's got to be some amazing popcorn buckets coming out.
Oh, I'm
And I
sure.
haven't even seen the lineup.
Yep.
I still have my Galactus head
Yep,
from the
yep.
Fantastic Four, which was
Yeah.
ridiculous. But I'm so glad that I bought it.
Yes.
And it makes a great, looks great in my room here. But anyway, yeah, super excited. Can't wait to get on board with all of that.
Yeah, in terms of like you said, this summer, we've got just in the next few months, Mando and Grogu, then we've got Masters of the Universe coming the beginning of June, and then Spider-Man's in July, Supergirl's at the end of June, and then we got Avengers Doomsday coming at the end of the year, and I'm sure there's more in between, but yeah,
Yeah.
it is not a drought of nerddom right now.
Yeah, I mean, I do try to. It's funny again. Collectors of a certain age, but we were so desperate for anything
Yeah.
in the 70s and early 90s. Us Star Wars fans, we just like everything. We freaked out when Mark Hamill showed up on that CBS Flash series. And because we never got to see him, right?
Yeah.
Like it was like all we wanted was more Star Wars content and more Mark Hamill content. And anyway, and now, just like you said, it's just like a checklist. We're going to get Star Wars. We're going to get Marvel. We're going to get DC. Then we're going to go back and get some more Marvel. And, in a world where Hollywood is right now just in a glut of, not even a glut, they're in a desert of creativity. Like all they're doing is doing remakes and things of that nature. And while people are like, oh, it's another superhero movie, or oh, it's another Star Wars movie, like these stories are at least pushing things forward. Maybe
Yes.
you don't like how they're getting pushed, but at least it's not a total rehash of an already existing
Yeah.
movie. But yeah, super stoked.
And I also love, and I've mentioned this on our show so many times, that I have a unique perspective as a teacher right now. I think back to like I'm not terribly old. I'll be 40.
No,
I'll be 41 next month, which is crazy. But
just a baby.
yeah, high school was about 2.5 decades ago, and you couldn't openly enjoy Star Wars and you couldn't openly enjoy Marvel comics and Superman and all this stuff.
No.
But fast forward to right now, my favorite thing about the kids at school is it doesn't matter if you're the band kid or the jock or the academic kid or whatever, the art kid, they all love all of this stuff. And it
Yeah.
just makes my nerd heart so happy.
Doesn't it? I know. Once people started taking the word nerd and applying it to every hobby, right?
Yep.
Oh, I'm a sewing nerd. Oh, I'm a soccer nerd, right? Then it kind of elevated it, right?
Yeah.
If you're deep into it, right, then you can get into geekdom and super fandom, right? But yeah, I think there's just a much wider range of acceptance for these. Yeah, listen, being a band nerd and a comic book nerd, whoa, that was tough in the 80s. And it's a much more welcoming nerd society now.
Yep. All right. Well, hey, let's go through a little bit of news here. We can just kind of spitball rapid fire some of this stuff.
Yeah.
On the topic of Spider-Man, are you pumped about this Spider Noir show coming out with Nicolas Cage?
I got to be honest. I do like Spider Noir. Now, again, this is just an interesting offshoot, right? So, in my days, we had one Spider Man, and then we got Miles Morales, and that was freaking awesome.
Yep.
And then we got Spider Geddon, and then we got Spider Island. And now we have, spiders who are utilizing prosthetics and spiders who are fully realized characters who use wheelchairs and walking aids and things of that nature. I think that's amazing. I
Yeah.
love it. And Spider Man, as a noir character, why not? Like
Right.
we do all these different things now. I laugh simply because I can't think of anyone that I would want to do this more than Nicolas
Yeah.
Cage. And here's the thing, like, I too give him a lot of grief because he can chew up a scene like nobody,
Yeah.
but, you can't fault the guy for having range. You can't fault the guy for not being pigeonholed into one type of role.
Hmm.
I mean, honestly, uh, I my introduction to him was with the movie Raising
Yep.
Arizona.
Yep.
So you go from like at that point, you have carte blanche to do whatever. I love that, so love that movie, and he's so good in it. And I just kind of, glommed on to the vibe. And so I'm excited. I believe that's an Amazon Prime
Yes.
show. And thankfully, that's one that I subscribe to. So I'm really looking forward to it. You know what? I did my duty as a comic book nerd and put my time in and watched Madam Web
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
Morbius
Yeah.
and Craven. And you know what? If Spider Noir is on par with those, I'm just good with it.
Right. Yeah. And that comes out May 27th. So for those of you guys listening, that's by the time this episode comes out, that's a week away. So we're almost there. I can't wait.
Yeah. That's crazy. I also heard I was picking up some news I had mentioned earlier about my habit of buying action figures.
Uh-huh.
Hasbro had another announcement today. So they're going to put together again, parlaying, merchandising, and synergy. They're going to put together a new Fantastic Four set, but it's the Future Foundation
Okay.
outfit that'll include the black and white Spider Man outfit. We're also going to get a Hulk 2099. Which is really cool. And then two really interesting box sets. One, these are built to look like um, a cartoon interpretation of a TV that you would watch in the 80s to watch cartoons on. And
Okay.
one of the box sets has a Charles Xavier in his gold 1990s era X-Men hover chair. And then the other is a 3-pack from the 70s era Spider-Man cartoon with the sculpts. You really got to go look at it to appreciate it, but the sculpts and paint jobs are really just totally in line with the 70s molds. So the lizard's got this funny face, and Spider-Man doesn't have any webbing marks on his torso. Just interesting, creative decisions.
Yeah.
Anyway, stoked for some new Hasbro figures. And then McFarlane, who's nearing the end of their licensing for their DC figures,
Um,
which what a great run of figures.
yeah.
I'm so disappointed that I think it's Mattel that picked up the licenses
Okay.
from him. I'm sure they just wrote Warner Brothers a check.
Yeah.
But this has been a great set of figures, all the different lines. The announcements that I saw come out earlier this week was for some more of the Super Friends line.
Okay.
So we're going to get a Black Vulcan and
Okay.
then a Wonder Woman, but they're also going to have, if you've been following that line, there's an episode of the Super Friends where it's sort of they sort of do what they did in that episode of Star Trek where there's all the evil versions and like Spock has the goatee,
Uh-huh,
you know,
uh-huh.
to easily define who the bad guy is. Well, there's a Super Friends episode where some of the Super Friends get turned into villains, and one of the things that they have is Robin with this goatee. And so they have a Robin with a goatee figure coming out, an
Amazing.
evil Wonder Woman, and then a Superman where he's actually wearing like a straw farmer's hat and
Uh-huh,
has a hoe, and it comes with a Mr. Mixel. Oh, I never get this right. Mixel Pitalik.
uh-huh.
Anyway, just amazing deep cuts. I know McFarlane, right? You're going to sell more units if you push more Batman,
Yeah, yeah.
Superman, Wonder Woman, and then all of the edge cases are for your super nerds. I have hanging from my ceiling a Geoforce from Batman and the Outsiders, right? Like, who knows that guy? But I do. I love him. So I'm going to be sad to see McFarlane lose that license. I think his figures, quite honestly, while I have really enjoyed the Hasbro line of Marvel figures, um, when McFarlane made the decision to go from 6-inch to 7-inch figures and then make all of his super-size figures 10 to 11 inches, like they just dwarf my Marvel Hasbro figures. Now, the Marvel figures are great on detail, and they too, of course, have super deep cuts of characters that most folks have never ever heard of. Um, but um, but McFarlane's toy line's just been an amazing joy, and he's really turned out some great product. And yeah, so super excited to see that come across the wire.
Yeah, I've collected almost all of the superpowers line, almost.
Oh,
There's a few that's eluded me, like the Hal Jordan Green Lantern and the Reverse Flash and the original
oh,
Black Manta, but I
yeah.
I think outside of those 3, I might have every single one.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it. Yeah, the superpowers line. My favorite, of those, I put them up on my wall. I did get the Booster Gold and Blue
Oh, yeah.
Beetle, right? And then, the Kilowog,
Yep.
that was like an extra that was like the first heavy duty
Yep, yep.
superpowers figure. You get like, the package is heavy. He's
Uh-huh.
such a big figure. Um, I did swap out recently. I, already had a 7-inch Lobo, but the superpowers Lobo,
Yep.
I really loved it, and then I was just absolutely knocked, out by the 2 3-packs that he released. So,
Oh, yeah.
the Peacemaker, Vigilante, and, Karate Kid, 3-pack, which came out right when the first, or was it the second Peacemaker series? But anyway, it was awesome. What great
Oh,
timing.
yeah.
And then
The
and then
JSA
the
pack.
the JSA 3-pack,
Yeah.
with Sandman and the original Green Lantern and
Our
Starman,
Man.
maybe?
Was it Our
Hourman.
Man?
Yeah, yeah, Hourman. And, yeah, just you'd never seen anything like that
Yep.
before, and the character molds were just so good. So, yeah, big high for the action figure announcements that have come out this week.
Yep. A couple last things here with Marvel. So, for fans of the X-Men '97 series, which was amazing, and I didn't
Mhm.
realize it's almost been 2 years since that first season, which I hadn't realized that.
Oh, yeah.
But there was a con that recently happened. The name of it's eluding me, my bad, but they showed the audience the trailer for season 2, and the internet beat internet, and someone leaked it out there. So for those of you guys listening, if you want to see that trailer bad enough, you can find it. I saw it earlier today. It's looking awesome.
Yeah.
It had a few glimpses of X Force and X Factor in this trailer, and then they went back and showed some of the Ramatut stuff
Oh, wow.
and their new iteration of their new suits, and there's definitely some feelings of some Days of Future Past type stuff where they're living in a timeline that just doesn't seem right. So,
I
um,
love it. I love that series so much,
oh yeah,
and it was the behind the scenes stuff spilled out and was so messy, with the director being accused of, creating a toxic work environment
yeah,
there's just a lot of weirdness around it, but man, they stuck the landing with the content.
Yep.
And so, and we'll get that second series here soon. So I'm really excited for all of that.
Same here. And my final thing with Marvel this week has to do with comics. And maybe this list has been out for a little while, but I just stumbled upon it this past week. The next handful of What If books I'm really excited about. They're starting in June, and I think it's going to be 3 a month. We're going to be getting a What If Uncanny X-Men, a What If Thor, a What If Secret Wars, a What If Jessica Jones, a What If Spider-Man, a What If Runaways, a What If
Wow.
Captain America, and then a What If X-Men. And I love those What If books so much. The one that intrigues me the most, I think, might be the Secret Wars one. I want to know what they're going to talk about in a What If Secret Wars, but
Right.
put that on your pull list, guys. There's going to be 3 a month for the next 3 months. So,
That's fantastic. I love those books as well. And um, I feel like that they sort of lost their luster against the DC Elseworlds title. But What If is such a standard. And when done right by the right creative team, man, just pushes all the buttons. I mean,
yep.
and, you know, the animated series on Disney Plus,
Hmm.
um, I just enjoyed every single minute of that,
Oh, yeah.
and to see how they utilize that particular storytelling method to bring Captain Carter in and cross over with Marvel Zombies, and there was just so much for the true Marvel fan in that What If animated series. But those books are awesome. I can't wait to find out what the creative teams are
Yeah.
on them. I think they'll have a big hit with that.
Oh, yeah. Well, over with DC stuff, as of today, this morning, they dropped a full trailer for the new Lantern series. I don't know if you had a chance to see that yet.
I did. I've really enjoyed it. Again, to your point earlier that the internet be internet and people can't, you know, I love the internet. I grew up with the internet and I found everything social about the internet to be things that I enjoyed. But when people pay $80 a month to get online to poo poo a trailer, a
Yeah.
45-second trailer, and it's like, just let people like stuff. Like,
Yeah.
but I think it looks amazing. I have all the faith in the world in all of the production team behind this. I think the casting is great. And, there was the whole thing at first. It was like, why don't they call the series Green Lanterns? And people were like, oh, well, maybe there will be other colored lanterns that'll be there. And I think in this trailer, I haven't gone through it frame by frame, but I'm pretty sure that we see Sinestro and or somebody that's in a yellowish
Yeah.
outfit.
I think I
And
caught that too.
yeah, and so um, I hope they lean into the Jeff Johns multicolored ring approach. There's so much more story to tell.
Oh, yeah.
And, and especially like, I get that the setup is, buddy cop, two different people from two different worlds, right? Trying to find some middle ground, right? I know all that exists, that they're trying to like also build that tension and everything. But gosh, I think top to bottom, like, I haven't been disappointed with any of these DC, TV shows. And James Gunn has got his finger on it, and he's going to bring different energies to these things. But
Oh, yeah.
I'm 100% excited for that series.
Same here. And speaking of series that have had a very prolonged gap between seasons, some news about My Adventures with Superman season 3 came out this week as well. And did you watch the first couple seasons of that?
I did. I
Uh,
loved it.
I loved it so
So
much.
good.
Well, season 3 comes out June 13th, so we are not far off. I know. I just
Whoa.
saw that this morning. I'm so excited. And Superboy will be a part of this season, which is kind of cool. And the actor Darren
Very much
Criss
so.
is gonna provide his voice. And yeah, I'm so excited. I love that series so much. And I'm a big Superman guy. We've talked about that before. And there's been so many different versions of Superman, and I just love seeing Superman. I I love it. I'm so excited.
Yeah, no. I mean, and honestly, like, I know it won't be the same as seeing Superman last summer in the theater, but like, I've really glommed on to the phrase hope core.
Yeah.
And, um, there was a 2-week period of time last summer where I felt like things were not as bad as they were.
Yeah.
and that there was goodness in people. And so if they can keep that vibe, I don't think that's the vibe we're going to get from Supergirl,
Oh, no, no, no.
which would, right? Especially with it being based off the Tom King series.
Oh, yeah.
But, I hope that, the return of the animated series will bring us that same level of, hope
Yep.
and goodness. You know, eh, we have those of us that have been around a while, we have run the gamut of, heroes turning dark and,
Yeah.
right, dark storytelling and things like that, and, um, I'm hopeful that we'll get some more positive affirmations and energy out of this, and I'm sure we will.
Yep.
From the first 2 seasons, I mean, I felt it just was an easy show to watch because it
Yep.
was just had a lot of heart.
Yep. I loved it. The final thing I have with DC this week is it was just announced that the character Martian Manhunter is supposed to make an appearance in Man of Tomorrow. They haven't said who would play him or anything like that, but the character's been announced. And then along with that, if you guys listening can picture the actor Sterling K. Brown, he
Oh,
came
yeah.
out with some interest of that this is a character he's always loved and would enjoy playing. And I started thinking, oh my gosh, I love Sterling K. Brown. He'd be an
Oh,
amazing
yeah.
John Jones.
When
Yeah.
100%. Oh, yeah, absolutely, and he should get that chance. Sterling K. Brown is an amazing actor.
He's awesome. So off topic. Have you watched Paradise on Hulu?
No.
Oh man, if you ever I don't know if you're a Hulu subscriber, but if you ever are looking just for something that you haven't seen, all your current normal shows are on hiatus, Paradise on Hulu is so good.
Check it out. Okay, I will. Good recommendation.
Well, let's see. Over with Star Wars, it's kind of a bittersweet week. I don't know
Yeah.
if you saw the news today, and especially for us Kansas City folks, we lost the actor Tom Kane. We got the news that he passed away this morning. Today's a Monday, and man, I was so bummed out when I saw that. He's always been such a great guy. A handful of years ago, he had a stroke, and it kind of affected his career and convention appearances. And if you're from Kansas City, you might know that he lived in Overland Park, which is right down the road, and he would
Right.
show up at many Planet Comic Cons, and I really loved, meeting him and talking to him. There was a convention, Kansas City Comic Con, which was different from Planet Comic Con, and I volunteered and got to work with him all weekend and among a few other folks, and he was just the nicest guy. And I always thought, as a teacher, how cool that would be one day. He had a lot of kids. Him and his wife had many children, and it's like I wonder what that feeling would have been to find out, oh my gosh, my student's dad is Yoda from the Clone Wars. Like,
Right?
but
No, for sure.
but yeah, such a great guy and so many great things, Powerpuff Girls and obviously the Clone Wars,
Yeah.
and I
Professor Utonium.
yeah.
Yeah.
I looked up on the internet earlier, you know, obviously Frank Oz did Yoda. He was the original Yoda, and I got on the online and asked, compare Tom Kane Star Wars minutes to Frank Oz Star Wars minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And Frank Oz was around 3 to 4 hours, and Tom Kane's was over 30 as Yoda. So, he may not have been the OG, but man, he put in his time as that character.
Yeah, absolutely, and, I mean, it's something knowing and recognizing voice actors is really that's sort of a new dynamic. I mean,
Yeah,
people who were deep into the weeds knew, right? But like general pop culture knowledge of who the voice actor was, that's a pretty new thing. And Tom definitely was one of the first people that like he and is it Ashley
Eckstein.
Eck- Eckstein,
Yeah,
who was the voice of Ahsoka, right? Originally. Uh, those folks, they are convention famous. I'm
yeah, oh
sure
yeah.
like Kelly Sue DeConnick says, like she's comic book famous. She can go to the grocery store and no one's going to recognize her. I'm
Yeah,
sure Ashley and Tom probably could have gone to the grocery store and no one would have yelled out their name. But for those of us that fell in love with the story and the characters and then the voices behind them, it's just as tragic and sad if as much as if it were a actor out in front of the on up on the big screen and not
yep,
just a voice actor. They gave them, they gave those characters life
oh yeah,
through their voice and through their acting. So yeah, definitely a very sad day for him.
yep. So, all of our hearts and thoughts go out to his family, and rest in peace. He's one with the Force.
He is one with the force now.
Well, this weekend, I think we've mentioned it a little bit, but The Mandalorian and Grogu premieres in theaters. I had the lucky chance a couple of weeks back to get an invitation to a pre-screening, but it was only the first 25 minutes, and
Oh.
it hooked me. It's funny because the room was packed. It was first come, first served. The movie just started. You had the I don't think it was quite the crawl because it's Star Wars has only been doing the crawl with the Skywalker stuff, but it had that opening, text on the screen and 25 minutes in when they were done showing us what we were going to see, there was a collective gasp in the whole room. Like we were all so upset. But just from those 25 minutes, I'm super pumped, and it didn't give too much away. It just kind of set things up, and I've already got tickets for. I mentioned, being a teacher, our school ends in 3 days, and I've already got tickets for the
Mhm.
Friday matinee. I cannot wait.
Yes, that's awesome. Yeah, we were joking earlier. So they have two, it looks like specialized popcorn buckets.
Okay.
They've got a Mando. Um, oh, that's just a bust. So it looks like their popcorn bucket is a giant AT-AT.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, exactly. And you can open up the top to put your popcorn in, and it has sound effects and light up turrets.
All right.
And so that'll be, and then a Grogu plush. Everyone's got to grab a Grogu
Yeah.
plush. It still amazes me. I'm sure it has a lot to do with licensing or what have you, but like they sell these popcorn buckets now. And I'm like, how hard would it be to just put up a little comic book stand
Right.
and sell all, like this weekend, put up a bunch of Star Wars graphic novels.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm like, but that is like decades. Like, why is no one selling comic books in theaters, especially during superhero and sci-fi movies? Anyway, but I'm super stoked, and I know, just like we were talking, I think there's a lot of noise on social media right now in general. And so it's really hard for fans to like start revving things up and finding community and talking about fun stuff they want to do. I think people are just like, I just need to go.
Yeah.
But I have no doubt that next weekend, the theaters are going to be packed full of people to see Mando and Baby Yoda,
Yeah. Oh,
as
yeah.
my wife insists on calling him, and not by his government name.
Yes.
But but yeah, we're super excited. And I mean, it used to be that you'd go to one of these movies and you were going to get a trailer for another amazing movie that you wanted to
Yes.
see. And so I'm hopeful that somewhere between the Spider-Man movie and or Avengers Doomsday that we might get just a little taste, just a little something,
Yeah. It's
for those others.
It's funny that you say that. There's a big rumor. It's just a rumor. This is not confirmed facts I've seen, but the rumor mill is saying that Mandalorian and Grogu may be showing a Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer that we haven't seen, and possibly a Doomsday trailer that obviously we
Oh
haven't
my
seen.
god.
I would be so happy.
I would be the happiest. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have bought tickets to movies just to see trailers.
Yeah.
And so I par- one of my favorite parts of the movie experience is to be surprised by an amazing trailer. But, yeah, I'm super pumped and can't wait to see it. And we're gonna get something. There will be some sort of treat for the rest of the fans. And so just excited to see what that turns out to be.
Yeah. Well, my final thing with the world of Star Wars is this morning they actually released some information that, if you guys remember, Hayden Christensen showed up in Ahsoka season one, and some of those scenes were so good. They were so amazing.
Mm.
They've already talked about he's going to show up again, just like in season one. He'll be in season two. But they announced this morning that there are at least three more projects that he will be showing up in as Anakin or Darth Vader. And I'm very pumped about that. I'm glad he's
Oh my
finally
gosh.
getting some flowers?
Oh my gosh. I watch on TikTok. I mean, I'm in the algorithms. They got me. And because I look for Star Wars content, I sometimes see videos, TikToks that are the same thing occasionally. And there's a TikTok, and I'm sure you can find it on YouTube, of Hayden showing up to maybe last year or the previous year's like Star Wars celebration, the annual celebration. And he must have gotten like a 10-minute standing ovation, and he was, like, in tears, and he was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you sure know how to make a guy feel good, right?" I mean, that guy took such a ration of absolute unjustified crap for decades. When I will say this, like everyone makes a joke about how he doesn't like sand
Yeah, right.
and right and all of that. I've seen Hayden Christensen in other movies, and I will tell you that the one thing that has plagued George Lucas his entire career is his inability to write dialogue.
Yeah.
And so much so that his wife at the time, when episode 4 was being edited, like she had to go back in and start punching up, as they refer to it, his script. And even Harrison and Mark and Terry all took George aside one day and was like, "We cannot do like you have got to rewrite this. We cannot even speak these lines because it's so bad." And so when people were bashing him about his acting, and I'm like, it's a space western. It's, you know, it's not cinema, it's an action movie. And that guy doesn't know how to write dialogue
Yeah.
very good. And you've put this kid in this role where he's going to become the most feared person in the galaxy. And you've got him sort of doing some goofy stuff and saying
Yeah.
some goofy things. And so for Hayden to finally show up and have people actually like show this outpouring of emotion and love for him, that's what I think is really the big important thing. Like everyone loves Darth Vader,
Yeah.
right? But like what we saw was everyone like finally, like you said, just giving him his flowers for sticking through it, being a part of it. And so I'm stoked. There was a episode in the most recent animated show Maul,
Oh, yeah.
where Darth Vader shows up and they actually don't have him speak. And one of the reasons why is because James Earl Jones had passed away and they didn't have, I guess, either they didn't want to use his voice, or my understanding was that years ago he did some recordings for ILM or Lucasfilm or Disney where perhaps they'd have audio tapes so they could splice things together. But anyway, um, so it'll be interesting having Anakin like during the Obi-Wan series there on Disney Plus. There at the end when he's talking with the shattered mask and his voice modulator is cutting in and out, right? Like I think we're at a point where if they can, continue to do things like that, maybe relying on James Earl Jones's audio won't be as important. But I'm anxious for it. I can't wait to see it. And gosh, I know age wise, I know Disney does that de aging thing,
Yeah.
but kind of give it. I kind of like it. I kind of don't like it. But all I would really love to see is to have Anakin and Ben on the screen together again.
Yeah.
I think that would be amazing.
That would be awesome. Yeah. That Mall Shadow Lord show was amazing, and it sounds like you've seen it.
Yes.
That final episode when fans finally got to see something that people have wanted to see for a long time, Maul versus
Right.
Vader. Oh, it was amazing. Such a good
Yeah.
show. I can't wait
Yeah.
to see some more of it. It sounds like we're gonna get a second season, so I'm pretty excited.
Totally.
Well, kinda elsewhere out there in the pop culture universe, this week, we get the series finale of The Boys. Is that something you've been watching?
I haven't watched season 4, but John has been keeping us up to date on what's going on. And, I think more than anything, they've done such a good job executing the story. And all of us have agreed there's never been a point where we're like, maybe they should have wrapped it up.
Yeah.
Like every episode is hot and spicy and it just leads perfectly into the next one. And so, yeah, John's been keeping up with season 4, and he was telling us the other day, he was like, I think there's only one episode left, right? The finale. And he was like, they've got a lot of stuff to wrap up.
Yes.
But it's been really great.
But for fans of that show, well, by the time this episode comes out, it'll be a little too late, but I think we mentioned it last week. They're showing the finale in theaters the day before the actual Amazon release. So on the 19th you could have gone and seen it in the theaters, and then on the 20th, it comes out on Amazon. So that's pretty cool.
I love that, yeah, I'm sure that there's a lot of folks who are like, "Why am I gonna go to a movie theater?" Blah, blah, blah. It's that thing where I think coming out of COVID, and for all the right reasons, we kind of forgot the feeling of shared exuberance.
Yes.
And like you mentioned, when you got to see the 25-minute lead in to Mando, and there was that theater full a gasp.
Yeah.
There is an energy to that,
Yeah.
and it's kind of good to be in a group to see something fun like that.
I'm hoping there's at least one moment in Doomsday that brings back this high that I've been chasing since Endgame. The one where
Oh yeah, where Cap
the
catches
Cap
Mjolnir.
catches Mjolnir and the whole crowd. I was there on the pre-screening the Thursday before. The crowd I was in lost their minds screaming, and it was like, I love that feeling.
Oh my God, it's the best. Again, it's Hope Core, and I see it. It gets rotated through my TikTok algorithm all the time, and just to continue to hear the crowd, just like you said, scream as
Yeah.
soon as it cuts to Steve. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know how they do it, but I'm hopeful. It should be fun.
Were you a fan of The Big Bang Theory and all of those spinoffs that came out of it?
Yeah, not all of them, but I did religiously watch Big Bang Theory, and for some of my comic book collecting friends, they thought that it was, they lost sight that it's a network television program,
Right.
and that like it's got to appeal to a
Multiple
larger
crowds, yeah.
audience. And so, but I really enjoyed the cute humor and thought a lot of the situational comedy was most certainly either adjacent to something I have personally gone through myself or know people who were going
Yeah.
through situations like that.
Well, did you happen to see this past week, they dropped a trailer for the newest spinoff called Stewart Fails to Save the Universe? Did you see that trailer?
No.
Okay, so little homework when we're done, if you're into that
Okay.
world. So it
Yeah.
looks bonkers. It's very sci-fi-ish. From what I read, plus what I saw in the trailer, I guess at some point Leonard and Sheldon build, if you remember the TV series Sliders,
Oh,
they
yes.
build something that starts shifting folks through universes, and somehow Stewart is involved, and then Brian Posehn's character, I think, was named Bert, and
Is
Linda
he
Lap.
going to be in it?
He's one of the main stars in it,
Oh,
and Linda Lapkus, who was Stewart's girlfriend, kind of towards the end of the series. Apparently,
yeah.
those planned Kripke, the guy with the lisp.
Yes.
Those four are kind of the main core group of this new series, and they're sliding through realities trying to save the universe.
That's
It looks
wild.
bonkers, and I'm very excited for it.
Well, you had me at Posehn.
Yes.
I love that dude. He's been up to Portland to excuse me, a couple shops to do signings.
Yeah.
He's dabbled and written some Deadpool comics,
Yep. Yep.
most notably, at least for me. But dude's just like a total great dude.
Yeah.
Loves rock and roll, comics, his comedy. I mean, I knew about his comedy way before all this other stuff. And just one of those people that you're like, I'm glad he's in our community. He's a
Yeah.
good dude.
He's
Yeah.
awesome. He's been to Planet a couple of times, and he
Yeah.
did signing at Elite Comics at least once that I can recall. And yeah,
Yeah.
I had him sign a couple of Deadpool books, and then he's also in a heavy metal rock band.
Yes.
And there's a Funko Pop of Deadpool dressed as a heavy metal rocker, and so I had him sign that at a con. That was awesome.
Very cool. That's very cool.
Well, my final piece of news here, and for fans of 80s retro stuff, we know that live action Masters of the Universe remake is coming, and it is going to be here on June 5th. And I think at this point, there's been 2 trailers for it. And, it may not be cinema, but it looks like a fun ride, and I can't wait to watch it.
I mean, they've done so much with, all of these legacy intellectual property, sort of teams and shows. So Sonic, they've done a great job with the Sonic movies recently. They'll Masters of the Universe is going to be a hoot.
Oh, yeah.
The second he lifts his arm, and lightning strikes that sword,
Oh, yeah.
every one of us is going to levitate up out of that movie chair. Yeah. And
Absolutely.
Right. So yeah, so I'm super excited and hey, let's get some Battle Cat going in here. I'm sure that's got to be a popcorn bucket. Shame on them if it isn't.
Though I'll bet there's multiple. The one that I've seen is the actual power sword. It's the whole sword and it's life size, but only like the hilt up is the container for stuff. I think
Uh
underneath it, popcorn goes in and you unscrew the handle and there's a straw for a drink. It looks kind of crazy and looks awesome.
yeah, that looks super fun. I'm in.
Well, hey, that is all the news we've gathered for the week. Colin, I would like to thank you very much for stopping by and nerding out. And
Yeah.
before you hop off, tell our listeners where can they go find the Worst Comic Podcast? Tell us about your socials and where can they listen to you?
I really appreciate it, Billy. Thanks so much. First off, thanks for inviting me. It's great to be here on the show, and I love getting caught up with you and just talking all things nerd. But if your listeners are looking for something else to listen to in addition to your show, they can catch us at the Worst Comic Podcast Ever. We are on Facebook mostly, Instagram as well. But we release an episode every week on Wednesday mornings, New Comic Book Day. We just recorded an episode 621 will drop this Wednesday, and we'll talk about, as you mentioned earlier in the show here, all things comics, the big three or four superheroes, tights and fights. We always have a top 10 and some trivia in every episode. So, we're half nationwide from Kansas City to Portland, Oregon, and all the points in between. But we'd love to have your listeners come join us and see what it's all about.
Definitely. Well, man, right back at you. Thanks for stopping by. And it was great catching up and nerding out. And as for us here at the Taylorverse, I've been Billy Taylor. And come back next week, you guys. Same Taylor channel, same Taylor time. Bye.